Welcome to Rhyme and Reason. We're the podcast we inspire, we encourage, and we provoke thought. And we also would like to meet you at your point of need. Now, today we have a guest, and his name is Stephen A. Tyndall. Mr. Tyndall is a native of Winston-Salem. He attended Morgan State, and he also attended Winston-Salem State University, where he received his degree in criminal justice. He works within the mental health field and has done that for the past 12 years. He is a pastor at Freedom Baptist Church. And one of his things that he told me before was that he has a heart for people.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you this afternoon. The subject that we are going to discuss today will deal with mental health. As someone who serves as a pastor and currently a unit coordinator, how do you navigate the unique challenges and the responsibilities of each one of these roles?
First, I want to say is it's all about just being mindful of where I am. A lot of it runs hand in hand. I love serving people because you have to be in the professional world. You have to be careful as far as when it comes to like forcing religion on people. Some are Christians, some are Muslims, some are Buddhists. So it's nothing to still treat them as a human being. It's nothing to still treat them with the utmost respect. It's nothing to still treat them as if they were my loved ones. So it's not really a big difference outside of just, being careful of not making anyone at my job feel uncomfortable because of their personal spiritual beliefs. That it's amazing how even without me saying something, that the door sometimes still opens up for people to come to me, which then opens up the opportunity for me to share my beliefs. It's not a task as far as when it comes to pastoring and working because both involves servicing, being a service to people, having a heart for people, loving on people, caring and showing concern for individuals, no matter how long you've known them or not.
If we are who we say we are, that begins with love. If love is not extended, well, then we have negated everything that we have and who we say we are and how we are connected in the form of our relationship with God, in the form of who we say we are, and how we treat people. So if you don't treat people the way they're supposed to be treated and the way God would treat them, because He loves them regardless, as you have said. So have you led any type of initiatives or anything for mental health awareness with your job or within the community?
Yes, ma'am. I've led several, efforts at my job. I connected with several other companies. We do like different community events that supports like, suicide awareness. We have different organizations that actually come to our campus, come to our facility to learn more about what we do, what we're about, the type of cases and situations that we may see day to day. And so there are, especially the position I'm in, I'm one of the pieces that just leads and outwardly leads and just share.
What do you actually do?
To make sure, number one, that all patients were safe, making sure that they attend groups, working hand in hand with the nurse or nurses that are on the unit as well, because medications are being administered. Our main job is to conduct groups, keep them engaged, make sure the staff was properly trained and equipped to conduct groups and know how to handle different situations that may at any given moment pop off on a unit. Although, like I said, my role has changed, I love it because I still have the opportunity to still be engaged with the patients as much as I choose.
One of the questions that I would have for you, because you keep saying you have a heart for the people, what does that look like? I mean, I know that as Christians or as people, we should love people. And what does but a heart for the people? What does that really mean? If you were to describe, what does that mean to you?
A heart for people is wanting to see people live, wanting to see people make it, wanting to see people have hope, no matter what it looks like, sounds like, feels like. We all go through things. We all go, and it's never as bad as we think it is. Although it may be bad, it's always somebody in a worse situation than we're in. You feel bad when you see people go through things, or when you see people feel that life is not worth living. Just your heart goes out to people, you know, and it makes you count the blessings too, because one situation could make us swap places. One situation could make me be sitting where they're sitting, and I could be a patient. I could go out right now and have an incident, or tomorrow wake up and not be all the way there and be talking to my food. And so when you see people who are not in their right mind, and when you see people who just feel like life is not worth living, your heart hurts for them. It's just that you want to see everybody make it, and you want to see everybody be the best that they can be, whatever that looks like. Because my best is not the next person's best, but the best is the best.
A pastor's heart is definitely the love for the people, the concern for the people, the ability to really hurt and feel the pain of the people. You know, they go that extra mile and all of that. So it is very different, you know. So I can really say I have met a lot of people in pastors' positions, but I think they're in the wrong position. Okay, I really do, because you know, you have to have love and you have to have mercy. You have to have kindness. It doesn't make you a wimp. That's not what it makes you. It makes you walk in the calling of who you are and who God has ordained you to be. And when you are not walking in that call, are you who you say you are? So that's the reason I want to really touch on the heart of what that looks like to you. And I really wanted you to really describe what it looked like. So now, of course, you are a pastor, but how'd you get there? And not because now people go to church every day. You know what I'm saying? They go to church. They may grow up in the church. They may not grow up in the church. But how did you get there?
Other than the fact that God put me there, I will say that I did know that God had a calling on my life at an early age. A long time I was running from it. I was raised in the church. I was what you would call a drug baby. I was drugged in and out the church. But then life started happening, and it's amazing how God will strategically allow things to happen. I'm a firm believer that God sets up situation to give you revelation. And so if things happen, it means God permitted it. And if God permitted it, it has to be for a reason. And so it was in that moment began to show me that pursuing football is not what I want you to pursue. At that time, I got back involved heavily in the church. So me and my best friend, we was talking. We was like, man, we should maybe think about maybe trying to do something for the church where we can gather the church. They gather the people. They gather the world for clubs and for parties. So who's gathering the church together to be able to do stuff like clean fun? So what we started doing was we put together an organization called Soul Saving Productions, Kingdom Movement of Believers, and we put on concerts. It was a great success, but then it's like God tapped me on my shoulder and he was like, that's cute and that's great, but that's not what I called you to do. I still kept running my own way, and I got to a season of just being restless. I was like this for a while. And it just got to a point where I got tired. I got tired of just the restlessness. And I said, okay, God, what is it? What is it? And I'm not going to even act like I didn't know, because I had known, but I was running from what I knew. And so I just wrestled with it. And because I was wrestling with it, I was restless. And it's so crazy because when I found it was like, okay, God, I surrender. I slept the best that night. Man is not what calls you, it's God. So God called me, I answered. Amazing how once you accept and you surrender, what's been there all along, it just gets stronger and stronger and it builds up. Even without the title of a pastor, the way I had love for people, the desire to want to see people come up out of whatever they're in. And so just seeing how the young folk gravitated to me and how I gravitated to them. And so as I just continue to move forward, and I've never been one to seek attention or seek titles or anything.
Now, how do you address the stigma that is surrounding mental health it could be within the religious community, it could be within any community, because, there's so much of a stigma about mental health and the needs that, even though the needs need to be addressed. How do you address that?
You can be saved and still see a therapist. I feel that a lot of times our faith as the body of Christ has us foolish. And it's because we too spiritual. We too spiritual to where, and let me just, I'm gonna step to the side because this is a universal thing, to where the doctor can tell you, you got high blood pressure. You need to change your eating habits. And instead of you changing your eating habits, going to the gym or exercising, you're going to quote, he was wounded for my transgressions. He was bruised for my iniquities. By his stripes, I'm healed. That's foolish. You're trying to address something in the physical, spiritual, which there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're abandoning doing what you're supposed to do in the physical, you're foolish. And so going to your question is that a lot of times, especially the Black community, because we're too worried about how people are going to label us or what people are going to think about us, or we are made to believe that if we go see a therapist, it means that we don't trust in God. Where we got to remember who gave the therapist the wisdom, who made the therapist, who gave the therapist the insight. But a lot of times we feel that deliverance comes just total healing, when sometimes your deliverance can be a process. The thing is, we got to move beyond thinking that seeing a therapist makes us not trust God, or having a diagnosis means that we can't still move forward in life, and because we fear what may be said, we won't face it, we won't address it. And it goes back to that stigma.
Talking about doctors and all that, and taking medicine and the stigma and all of that, I do think that is just the fact that we perish for lack of knowledge. Things are put before us, and once things and information is put before us, then we have to take what we have and do something with it. Why get information that you're not going to use? So now that we know that there's a stigma, and I knew it was a stigma as far as mental health and all of that, how do you help in that regard?
I think the best way is to constantly remind people to not be ashamed, to feel what you feel. Feel what you feel so that God can heal what only He can heal. Because God can't heal what you conceal. And so a lot of times we conceal what our reality is. We conceal depression. We conceal anxiety. We conceal trauma. And it's okay to not be okay. And so I feel like the first step is letting people know it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel what you feel. The problem is never what you feel. The problem is not that you're angry, upset, that you're sad, that you're frustrated, because those are feelings that we all possess. So the problem is not what you feel, it's how you respond to your feelings. So it's okay to feel what you feel, embrace what you feel, acknowledge what you feel, talk about how you feel so that you can begin to heal.
I would agree that you should talk about how you feel and all of that so that you can heal. I will also uh, say for me, um, my conversation is just not with everybody, and I think that that should be added to it too, because I do think it's very necessary for us to have conversations about how we feel and how we got to that place and all of that. But
Right.
you have people that if they are not in a position as a physician or something in a healthcare, then you need to know who you're talking to and who you're releasing to, because the very people that you release to can do sometimes do more harm than good if they don't have good intent. So, yeah, the ability to release, yes, but how you release and where you release it
That's
is
most definitely.
important.
So again, if I'm going to the wrong person for help, for advice, and they fail, now that's adding more to my plate than I really have to. So as you said, you have to, and I agree, you have to be careful with who you go to, who you confide in, for your release.
Now, because of the demands of your roles at your job and even the church, how do you deal with your own self care and how do you maintain it? Given the demands of your role as a pastor and even at your job, how do you prioritize or do you self care?
Because I love the gym, I love the exercise. That's my go-to, along with other things. But I do my best to, when I leave work at work. Although there are some things that, that may come across but it's like I do my best to try to leave work at work. But also, as I tell the patients, you got to have coping skills in place that help you cope with things, positive coping skills. So for me, it's working out, spending time with family, reading, listening to music, just resting. Those are really my normal, but my main is I love to work out. I love to be in the gym, swim, be in the sauna, because it allows me to just inhale, exhale, release, and just clear my mind.
So, what advice would you give to other people that are in similar roles, such as pastors, to prevent burnout and maintain their well being? Because, it appears to me for people to trust God, a lot of them be trying to take their own life, and that's a problem.
It was told to me, Christ already died for the church, so there's no need for us to.
Absolutely.
So, so with that being said, it's gonna always be problems because there's gonna always be people, and when you have people, there's gonna always be problems, and so there'll never be a situation where just nobody is gonna ever have problems and issues or need your attention. And so you have to be intentional on just making sure that you maintain safe boundaries, positive boundaries, and give space for you to detach and focus on self, to give attention to your self needs and to self-care, and so that you can be strengthened. Like for me, I take the month of August. That's my advice, is just to be intentional on taking time for you, and to understand that, like I said, Christ died for the church. And so don't kill yourself trying to do something that Jesus already did. And so follow him, be sensitive to what he says, and obey in what he says, and you'll be all right.
Listeners who may be struggling with mental health challenges or seeking spiritual guidance, what advice or encouragement would you offer based on your experience and your expertise?
To not be ashamed. Whatever you're feeling, whether it feels right or not right, don't ignore it. Don't sweep it under the rug, but embrace it. Identify. Seek help. Seek professional help. But also go to God in prayer about it.
Mm-hmm.
And God He'll lead you and He'll guide you, because every situation is different. And you seek God's guidance, He'll show you how to manage and maneuver the situation. But most importantly, I think where we miss the mark is that because we become ashamed, we don't talk about it, and because we don't talk about it, we keep it to ourselves. And then when it is talked about, it's at its boiling point, and it's like, look at all the damage that has been done, whether it's a physical outward damage or just an internal damage.
Our failure to communicate is one of our um, downfalls.
Right.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you coming. It won't be our last time.